What up, everybody? Lit fam.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to dinner, Benjamin and Ivy. As we drop the wedding reveal, we're going to Vietnam. Eloping, taking my love back to the homeland, where I'll be inducted into the Vietnamese culture forcibly, willingly.
He's gonna be a celebrity in Vietnam.
I'm bringing my cowboy hat. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, so certainly I wanted to sort of share how we've been preparing for marriage. Yeah. Talk about some relationship stuff. And then also how have I been getting ready from a sort of a mental standpoint, physically, intellectually in terms of the plan. And then emotionally, you know, because I want to be in a good mood on my wedding day, that was always just a fear of mine. Like, what if I'm dissociating or having a bad mood swing on my wedding day, you know? That's all that happened to my buddy. It's like having the worst day ever on his wedding. I'm just like, dude, it's not the look. I'm not trying to act happy at my wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a freaking nightmare.
Well, that's why we're going to Vietnam.
Right? So, I think originally we were torn between what do we want to do in terms of destination wedding, eloping, having a local wedding in America. And we were bouncing back between all of those things a bunch of times. It was very hard to nail it down and pin down what do we actually want. So what helped you solidify on eloping?
I mean, so for me, I always tell people this, but I never, as a young girl, I never fantasized about having a wedding. And so it was not at the top of my mind whenever we got engaged. In fact, I think for like 2 years, neither of us really talked about the wedding.
Right.
Because it was like...
More work.
Yeah, it just wasn't an expectation that I ever put on myself or my family ever put on me. Because I also have some interesting family dynamic as well that just kind of makes the situation awkward for me. But on the other half, when you're so in love, you know, you want to celebrate that day with all the people that you love and all the people that kind of help mold you into the person that you are. And like the idea of a ceremony uniting families is really beautiful to me. And so I was torn between...
Which is why we're still going to do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everybody. If you're cool with us, we will still be getting a wedding invite. But we're just going to do that off into the future once we have the time, resource, and prioritization. And as we keep healing our families so that we can actually get them together without there being a brawl.
Right. I would say that getting married is a priority. Having a wedding, so much is not.
Right.
I mean, I feel like we can have a wedding anytime. Here's the thing. If you are in a phase of your life where, you know, you're kind of stuck in between a situation like this where you don't know what to do what you feel is right and best for you, because there is honestly no correct way to do it.
No.
There's a way that people want you to do it for better sales, for them to make money.
Right. Oh,
right?
You should definitely get
You have to have this.
You have to drop 6 figures on a wedding.
You have
Says
to have
who? The wedding planner. The person trying to sell you some Other thing is just like the ridiculous. What got me was the freaking stat I saw on Instagram that directly the more that you spend on a wedding, the more likely you are to get a divorce. So spending all that money for what? For what? Increasing your odds of divorce? That showy nature.
Well,
right?
I think that there are a lot of people out there who have this bigger than life vision of what they want their wedding to look like, and they've perfected it in their mind, and so like that becomes the priority. And
Caught
the
up
second,
on the destination, not the journey.
right, the second that you have an
Being
opportunity,
married is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah, and the second you have an opportunity
Oh,
to
now I'm married.
live
Now
that
it's
dream
okay.
out.
Now I'm the knight in shining armor. No, dude.
It's like, did you take time to think about if that's a person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, or is it just for this one moment that you pictured so perfectly in your head? And to be honest, how I feel about marriage is that I don't think our relationship is going to get better just because we're getting married. It takes work, consistent effort and work that we've been putting in. I mean, our whole relationship. Right. It's just going to get better because of that, not because we're getting married.
Right.
Some people feel that way.
I mean, in my mind, I've been committed.
Right.
The marriage to me happened when I was like, I'm not leaving this person no matter what.
Yeah.
And that happened way before we actually got married. Like, do I need a piece of paper to tell me, the government, to tell me that I love this person, and like that agreement that we had made, just doing it in front of a priest, change that? Some would say yes, and I can see the benefit and utility of that ceremony. But the end of the day, it's the decision to stick with somebody.
Yes, and I am looking forward to saying my vows.
Like, for sure, there's great stuff about it. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I'm not knocking on that at all. I'm just saying.
It'll be a blast. But I'm also not gonna give it a. It's a journey, not a destination. This is one act in which there will be millions of acts. We had a great wedding day, and I'm being a jerk the next day.
Like, whenever we get rich, we could have a wedding every single year if we wanted to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to have all our friends and family come and gather around us.
Right.
Once a year.
Celebrate the love.
So we're getting married. Wedding number 25.
All right. So the modern problems require modern solutions. The modern problem is, I want to get married with my BBs in an awesome location, and then go straight to the honeymoon. Enter Vietnam, which is like Hawaii with better food and much bigger and mountains. Because I wanted to start the relationship, or get married how we started the relationship. It was me and my BBs from the beginning alone. We started this by ourselves, and our families really weren't there to facilitate. If anything, probably the opposite. Trying to bring me down, right? So one thing about having an Asian mom now, I can see the what do you call this? The pressure. You're not the right kind of doctor. God, I'm still a doctor. Like, no, gotta be a freaking surgeon to get some credit around here. So, you people never happy? Also, I wanted to see the culture before I fully married into it. I mean, I'm not gonna say no, obviously, but I want to go there and check them out so I can get a better history and understanding of the genetics I'm about to merge with, as it were. So, I wanted to start it because we wrote out everyone we were going to invite, all the different things we could do, all the different options. At the end of the day, it's what do you want? If you just got rid of everything, you could have it your way and forgetting about what everyone else thinks, forget what your dad thinks, your mom thinks, your uncles, your aunts, the family,
your grandma.
Forget all of them. What would you do? And I was like, we going solo. Like, for an extended trip on the most beautiful stuff, the beautiful adventures. And I want to say because I'm not kind of a, I'm not like a real showy guy like that. It's hard for me to get into my emotions in front of a whole crowd of people. You know? I don't get stage fright by any means. It's just hard to be authentic in those moments. You know? So, to me, to be my best version of authentic is to be like out in the wilderness. You know, me and you, God, that's it. And then you say what you're supposed to say underneath a beautiful moon or a sunset or something. What do you think?
I love it.
That was what I found as importance. And then we started talking about how of a healing experience it could be for the family, to bring all the families together and kind of unite everybody in a time of celebration. I think my uncle said there's been too many funerals and not enough weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Much like, to me, it's like the ancient ancestor way of like our species is dying.
Mm-hmm.
In which case I was like, dang, you put it like that. So we're still gonna do one of those with our family and friends also. Once again, this is a modern problem, you know, to want to have your own wedding but also have your family there, you know, and also have a honeymoon. How do you do all that? You can. Don't limit yourself. Why can't you have 2 weddings, 3 weddings? You know, as many as you want, right? Whatever makes my story the best, most interesting for myself and my family, I'm gonna do that. Also, having these great things to look forward to has made me not really hustle, but be inspired to take necessary actions in my personal life and my business and my profession to be better, so I can provide and serve and such. I'm trying to be a husband. Okay, I'm just a boyfriend right now. I hit that evolve button.
You're a fiance.
Oh, that's right. Boyfriend, fiance, husband.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fiance is just a fancy boyfriend, though.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right.
A fancy boyfriend. I feel like anytime I'm telling someone about something that involves you and I say fiance, I feel like I'm bragging so hard, you know?
My fiance.
Yeah. Like, oh, congratulations. Like, no, I
Right.
didn't mean it that way.
Right.
I was just telling you
Right.
that he did this.
It's a flex, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a straight up flex.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good progression, I would say, especially in today's dating climate, which is apparently terrible per all of our single friends. Our single friends are. Say it's rough out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yup. So I guess what else? So in terms of things that have changed, one thing that definitely did kind of get big to me was like with marriage, it is sort of a shift in mentality, and like that's the final commitment. So when I was first like trying to like propose, I had this huge fear about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that's just being a guy. I feel like.
What
You know,
was the
law-
fear about it?
No, I usually hear all
Not
this.
that I would say no.
How many old? Yeah, I wasn't worried about that at all. That was the last of my concerns. It was, you hear all these horror stories from all these old guys who are like, don't do it, never get married. They're nice when you marry them, then they turn mean. You know, keep your options open. All those kind of things. And you hear a bunch of horror stories and divorces and stuff. And then, I don't know, just being, what's the word? Skeptical by nature is how I describe myself. Untrusting. It's a history of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big part of that. And then I realized, Benjamin, the reason that you're afraid of making long-term dedicated decisions and commitments is because you're not somebody who's ever done that. You're not the kind of person who makes long-term agreements. I was like, oh my God, you're soft.
Because at that
You're
point,
afraid to
you
commit.
had
You're afraid to commit.
moved every single year for what?
I bounced
13,
around.
14 years?
I bounced around my entire life. I've never had any stability. It was me, myself, and my guitar, and a
All of a
basket,
sudden now
and a
there's
basket of
me.
laundry.
There's dogs.
Right. A lifelong commitment. But I think I said this before, but I looked up what ivy means. It means God's gift. And then I reflected on how you've always been a gift in my life across the board in every domain. And then it was like, you'd be an idiot to not do this. You know? And guys do say that. You're the luckiest guy in the world. This guy said this at the bar at New Ivy. And like his girl was standing like right there. I was like, dude, chill. She's right there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's a silly goose. His wife has
You're wrong for that.
she probably just was like, yeah,
Laugh-
whatever, John.
laugh- yeah,
Yeah.
laugh it off.
Yeah, he's just a silly goose. He's
Okay.
a sweet guy.
I might just still
He'll-
fun.
yeah,
Still fun.
he
Don't
is.
don't name drop.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna be
Right, just in case you watch this video. So things that how you've been preparing emotionally, spiritually for this. Or have you? You're just writing it in.
Honestly, I'm more focused on like the starting a family aspect of it. that like stepping into the role of motherhood.
The non-tox lifestyle took over.
Yeah.
I got caught in undies. No BPAs nowhere. That is definitely one thing that straightened me out. Like the idea of having kids, and you see about all the environmental toxins and how the infertility issues from people our age or a little bit older. Mm-hmm. Everybody's having infertility issues.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. I have 7 aunts and uncles on just my mom's side, and then 11 siblings.
Yeah.
Fertility issues have not been a problem.
Yeah.
If it goes down with me, 100% there's something going on in the environment. Mm-hmm. It's not my boys. We're strong swimmers.
But back to the marriage part, I mean, I would say that I've been really just focusing on how I can be just a supportive partner.
Right.
In every aspect. Just like being way more aware of that than I ever have been.
Yep, doing a great job.
And
food.
that's my method. It's just paying attention.
And a lot of Instagram reels on what to eat, what not to eat.
Yes.
And getting the body ready.
Yes.
I think one
Lots
thing.
of prayer.
That's been crazy. Visualizing children, visualizing a family. I've never done that before. I was like, I've never seen myself in that way. Benjamin, the dad, I've never gone there in my mind. So when I thought that, I was like, oh my God. First of all, kind of a little bit afraid of it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you talk to some other dads who are actually good dads. And they're like, the only thing that you'll leave when you die, material-wise, is your children. Your lineage, your generations that you pass down. Which is against the narrative that I grew up with. It's like, kids, why would you want kids? Like they're a freaking burden, you know, that they're annoying. There's a bunch of shitty parents out there that make you afraid of being a parent, you know?
Well, I think people are, you know, I mean, God bless them, they're doing their best, but like they probably already weren't in a great situation by themselves and then brought along kids to just really amplify that. Right. Which makes it really hard to be a good parent because if you could never fill your own cup, how can you ever, fully step into that role abundantly? It's hard.
Poor health practices to start with. Like if you're already tired,
yeah,
and then you think having kids is going to make that better, I mean, it will a little bit in some ways, but you're going to be more tired. So we got to be like on top of health related things, and you have to have a plan. Like you need to have excess time and energy going into the experience. That's how I feel about it. Which is why I started mapping all my life out to make sure I had room for this. Like, okay, I'm going to need some supplemental income, so that way I don't have to work all the time. Because I want to actually raise my children. I don't want to be a laptop dad. Can't stand laptop dads. I want to be able to play with them and grow them and teach them. Because I don't trust the school systems, the educational systems, to be raising my children, not in this lifetime. Not with what they're teaching these kids today. Because I see those kids for therapy or psychotherapy. I'm like, whoa, where are your parents?
Yeah, those kids are trained to not listen to their parents.
It's a freaking nightmare. Right, or they think that they're smarter than their parents.
In the most innocent seeming ways. Like I remember being a kid and my mom, where I was learning I was learning long division in 2nd grade or something, and it was like this new style of long division, and my mom was trying to teach me her way that she learned, and I was just like, no, you're wrong. Like this is what the teacher taught me. It's a very innocent seeming scenario, but it
helps you discredit your parents.
Exactly.
And now they're not trustworthy anymore. You can't long divide. You must not know what you're talking about. Whereas meanwhile, this person has escaped communism and escaped being a prisoner of war to come across to a whole new continent and then start a business. That person has a whole body of education outside of long division. It's probably very valuable.
Yeah. And of course, public school has a place for kids who grow up in not so great environments, but that's not the ideal situation.
So other thing that I think spiritually speaking was I started reading about marriage and where can you find consistent stable marriages. It's typically in people who are religious or spiritual. So classically speaking, Christians, for example, if they do a good job of staying married. Like my parents have been married for 40 something years. had 8 kids, went through the whole gambit of life experiences, cancer, losing kids, freaking all the drugs, like you name it. And like their marriage was founded on the rock, right, of just truth and love and humility. So no matter how crazy it got, they were always doing that. And like when I say they're operating in lockstep, like my dad would be sitting there playing the guitar, and would start singing a song, and my mom would just stop in the hallway and she'd start singing with him. Like they were singing hymns together. Like they're singing. Like how synced do you have to be with your partner to just burst out into song with them? Yeah, beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Right. So it's like, okay, well that's the standard then. So then I picked my dad's brain a little bit. I was like, got any relationship advice? And he's like, read the Bible. He's like, okay.
Read the Bible.
Right, that was literally it. I was like, did you go any marital counseling or read any books? And he was like, no, I just knew the Word of God. And I was like, honestly, I guess that'll get you through it. If you're always being honest, you're always being humble, and you're always working hard and dancing, singing, and reaping the fruits, and being a good person, theoretically, the marriage shouldn't end in divorce. Shouldn't, you know? But I started thinking it from a perspective of like, you know, human beings are like God's final creation, and like we're the most beautiful things on the earth, right? Like the human being is the most sophisticated thing that we know of in the universe, right? And so like God's final creation, and like we're like the most modern creation, or the end product of evolution. So, and then the end product of that would be like it was, you know, man and then woman. So like we're like the most beautiful thing that there is, and then the most beautiful thing that two human beings can do together is to choose one another no matter what, and then merge DNA and have beautiful children, and then boom, the tree of life gets even bigger and better, and then to raise them strongly into great kids and creating, you know, generational level change.
Yeah.
So you have the two most beautiful beings, both masculine and feminine, then merging to create this beautiful unity, and then creating even more life that's explosive and abundant. And the whole thing was like the devil, of course he would hate that. And wants to get in there and destroy that, because that's like the fabric of which reality is based on. And like the devil kind of hates God and wants to like ruin his plans or whatever.
Just to ruin it.
Right, just wants to ruin it just to ruin it. So if you could choose something to ruin, what would that be? Would be a marriage. Because that's like, that's the foundation. So I started thinking about all this stuff. I was like, oh, whoa, that's like an excellent way to think about it. Because then you can start to ask yourself like, okay, well, how would the devil get into my relationship? Or essentially, how would somebody break us up? You know, they'd probably whittle away us over a long period of time. They get us tired, they get us unhealthy, they shove a bunch of whatever it may be in your faces, booties on Instagram, or freaking heinous content. Right, so then you can start purifying yourself and like, okay, this is not good for me to do. This is good for me to do. Right, I need to dedicate myself to these things because I know that they're good. So it really helps with like resource allocation and like what do I want to invest in long term.
Like the way you put that.
I was going
just like always having, just goes back to having like a precise awareness on everything that's happening all the time.
Communication.
Yeah.
Like I need to know what you want. Like I need to know what you want, so that way I know to deliver that to you. Then everything else is just a little bit of cherry on top, you know. Other thing that was, like the thought of having a child. So like with epigenetics, that means that I'm still modifying my genetic code. That would be in my gametes or my sperms. Same thing would be happening for her. Sorry, this is biologist talk and doctor talk. But pretty much your nuts are listening to you. Your ovaries are listening to you. Everything that you're doing and acting and being is codifying that egg, that sperm. So if you're being, you know, lame, boring, loaded with toxins, stupid, lazy, you're coding that to be a shitty egg. And you're setting your kids up for generational trauma, right? You're programming them that way. This is 100% true. They looked at, say, like the kids who were born during the wartime, or the mothers were pregnant during war and then the war ended, but they were still all stressed out during their pregnancy or actually beforehand, and they coded that baby to be like super like geeked out, so they were lower in body weight, more anxious, had more health issues. So I was like, whoa. So the opposite is also true. How can we code them for greatness? So I started pumping mad energy into my seed, as it were, and like meditating on like, what do I want this to look like? how can I keep myself in a great mood, great energy, great principles, great values. Because I think the idea of having kids is great, but having bad kids or kids that don't pay attention or are like, annoying.
Yeah,
Well, there's two things I can't stand. It's pets that don't answer, like dogs that don't recall, you know what I mean? Like, get that dog. Number two is kids that don't listen. And like they're undisciplined. It's like, is somebody gonna do something about this? Or am I about to? You know what I mean? Fatherly instinct. So for all you listening, start, pre-programming your gametes.
Your what?
Your gamete is like an egg or a sperm.
Gamete?
Gamete.
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 I've never heard of that word before.
It's like a half of the DNA, and then your half of the DNA, and then they come together.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. So your nuts and your ovaries are listening. So you had better be saying and doing some good things. So then pick that up. I was last probably closed with, professionally speaking, is talk about this a little bit. I just got to hustle on making sure you're getting other streams of income, so that way you can guarantee that you're not overworked and burned out when you're trying to raise your children. Final. Community. Like, I realize, like, my parents are aging, and like my friends are kind of sparse around me. They're all busy and tired. It's like, well, if you want to have good kids, you need to have a good community, so that way everybody can trade. Like, here, hold this baby, give me a break, or like, you take them for the weekend, and I'll take yours for the weekend over here. It's like there's sort of a trade barter system that happened with kids in the past that is not happening now, where everyone's like too scared to give their kid up or feels like they're being a burden. I think, no, you should want to pass your kids also. I'm going to give them to my brother so he can go toughen them up a little bit, take them hunting, take them fishing, or whatever. And so really doubling down on her parents' health and wellness to make sure that they're there to help facilitate that. She's an only child, so they're like waiting for grandchildren. Versus me, like, there are nieces and nephews running everywhere already. And I have 7, brothers and sisters, and several of which have had kids, so it's kind of spaced out a little bit in terms of attention. But even then, I still want to get my parents, a lot healthier so that they can actually help babysit and such, so we're not stuck in that situation where you're trying to solo do everything. So everything kind of distilled down, I would say that I'm taking notes on everyone that has like a parent or a child rather, or is getting married. I'm like looking and seeing what are they doing that's leading them to successes and what is leading them towards failure. So when someone says having a kid sucks, I'm like, okay, why does it suck? X. Okay, so if I had a plan for this, and that shouldn't be an issue then, right? So if I can remove all those barriers, all of a sudden I can have these and still be in a happy, stay fit and stay active in my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And still have our date nights, most importantly.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that hard.
Love you. Well, that's all we got for y'all.
Bye, guys.